What's up, fellow polymaths? In this video of the Java Fundamentals tutorial, we'll be going over the optional class. The optional class was introduced in Java 8. It's a public final class by default. Optional class is used to deal with null pointer exceptions and utilizes the java.util package. It contains methods that are used to check the presence of a value for a particular variable. The container object is used to contain non-null objects. The optional object is used to represent null with an absent value. Various utility methods are used to facilitate code to handle values such as available or not available instead of checking null values. So because optional class is mainly used to deal with null pointer exceptions, a lot of the methods based on that, such as the empty method, which returns an empty optional object, the of-nullable method, and so on. There are plenty of other methods inside the optional class, although it takes too long to go through all of them. But let's test out the optional class in the code just to understand how it works. Alright, so here we're in the main class, and what we're going to do is utilize the optional class, how the optional class can be used to test out null values. Alright, so I created some code. First, we have a string variable called variable string, created by know that. So, and then after, we're going to output that to the print line. So as you can see, this variable string hasn't been initialized with anything. Here we're calling it with a method, with a length method. So I'm sure you can guess what's going to happen when I run this code. All right, and if you guessed that we got a null pointer exception, then you guessed correctly. We don't want to generate that null pointer exception, so let's see what we can do about that using the optional class. All right, I updated the code and included the optional class. So with this updated code, we're essentially checking if the value that we instantiated for the variable string is a null. And then we're using an if condition to return the result. And I'll explain what's happening. All right, so we get our result. The value of the variable string is null. Now, basically what's happening here is we instantiated a variable called variable string, but we didn't initialize it with anything. So it's a null at this point. So here on line 12, we define this optional class, and we define a variable called value presence is equal to optional.ofnullable. And that ofnullable static method takes in the argument of the variable string that we created on line 7. And remember, that variable string is not initialized to any value, so it's a null value. So here we're checking if this value presence dot is present. We're basically checking if that variable string has a value in it, which we know it does not. So normally if you call a method on a variable that's null, you're going to get a null pointer exception because nulls can't call methods. But in this case, because we're using an optional class, we're able to get around that. And we see that our output is that the value of the variable string is null. So what happens if I initialize this value to anything? And since I'm not creative today, I'll just say anything. And if I run this code again, we see here that the result is the value of the variable string is not null. So that's a quick example of optional class. Basically, this optional class is used to be able to check for null values. If this video was of any value to you, then please leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.